Hello everyone, my name is Joanny and welcome to Love Qualified. Today I am going to be sharing with you my medicine rejection story, and this is something that I have not really shared or have not really expanded on here on my channel. But if you've watched some of my previous videos, I might have hinted, I might have given a little hints like here and there, talking about a little bit of my, my journey, but I haven't really come out and said that, I was applying for medicine. But today I thought I would share with you this journey. Now before I continue, I just want to say that the purpose of this video is not to hopefully not to discourage whoever is in medicine, hopeful, or whoever wants to apply for medicine or want to become a doctor. My main, hopefully what I'm trying to, the reason why I'm making this video is basically to encourage you in your journey to trust the process, to trust God, and to trust where He's leading you and where He's taking you, and just for you to understand that we all have our own unique journeys, but that we, as long as we put God at the center and follow His lead wherever we're going, He will lead us to our expected end. And that's the main reason why I'm sharing my story here. But in order for you to actually understand really what I've been through over the past couple of years, I thought I'll start from the beginning. So I moved to the UK when I was 15 years old, but I've never always been that child. When you ask some people why they want to do medicine, or why they went into medicine, they would say that, when I was 5 years old, I've always wanted to be a doctor. Nope, that's not me. That's never been me. When I was growing up, I think at one point I wanted to be a journalist, and another point I wanted to be a seamstress. I had like my whole bag. I had my scissors, I had my tape measure, I had my needle and thread, and everything. I was so serious about being a seamstress. And when I got to boarding school, I went to boarding school in Cameroon for 5 years. I wanted to be a petrochemical engineer because I loved chemistry, I loved physics, and I loved biology. I've always been interested in the sciences. I didn't really like literature. I thought Romeo and Juliet was, I didn't like tragedies. I didn't like the fact that it ended that way. So I never really liked literature and English. That's not me. And geography and history, nope, not me. I've always loved biology, chemistry, physics. Those were the three subjects that I really, really loved. And so coming to the UK, I thought, I want to be a petrochemical engineer. So when I got to the UK in 2011, I went to college, and for my AS I did biology, chemistry, physics, maths, and further maths. So I took 5 ASs. I know, long story. I know, it was super stressful. But yeah, I realized I really loved biology, and I've always loved biology. I just love learning about the human body. My biology teacher was the best. I loved her to bits, and she was really, really encouraging, and she made me fall in love with the subject even more. And when I got to A2, I dropped physics. Even though I did really well in it, I got an A in it for AS. I dropped physics because I thought I didn't really need physics for A2, or I didn't really see myself going forward with physics. So I thought, if I'm not gonna invest in that, I'm just gonna drop it. So I dropped physics, and I just continued with biology, chemistry, maths, and further maths. So when the time came for us to apply to university and stuff, I was confused. I didn't really know what to apply for. I knew that I loved the sciences, but I didn't really know what I wanted to do at university. But then in the end, I went for medicine because everyone else at my sixth form, literally so many people were applying for medicine, and it just seemed like a good choice. It just seemed like the logical choice to go for because everyone else was doing it. So I thought, okay, well, I love biology, I love learning about the human body, that makes sense. I'm going to apply for medicine. And that's basically it. If I'm going to be totally honest with you, the only reason why I applied for medicine first time around was because most people I knew were applying for medicine. My closest friend at college was also applying for medicine, and yeah, that's the reason why I did. And when I applied, I had no work experience whatsoever. My personal statement was so weak. I didn't have any experience to talk about because I hadn't really had any experience. The only experience I had was 1 week at the hospital shadowing doctors and nurses and healthcare assistants and all of that, but I got that experience after I'd applied, so I could only talk about it, you know, in my personal statement saying I was going to do it. So I was so naive. I applied to Oxford, Imperial College, UCL and King's College London. I know, don't apply to that many London unis, guys. It's not worth it. And applying to all 3 BMAT unis, that's crazy, because I wrote the BMAT after I'd applied. And you know, my UK CAT wasn't even that good. I think because my UK CAT wasn't that good, I think that's why I only applied to King's College. But I didn't do my research. I didn't know that King's College, you know, had, you know, they took their UK CAT cutoff was so high, and my cutoff was my UK CAT overall score was so low. And I applied to King's because I loved King's. I loved the look of King's. I was like, oh, King's College was my dream university, guys. Like, it was like, I want to go to King's, you know, it looks great, you know, God's gonna help me get into King's, you know, blah blah blah. I had this, you know, hope, which is good to have hope. It's good to be hopeful. I'm the most optimistic person ever, and I love to, you know, hope and be positive, but I was very naive, and I was being really unrealistic. So obviously, putting all these things together, it's not surprising to say that I got 4 pre-interview rejections because everything went wrong the first application. So I took a gap year. I decided I was going to take a gap year because for other personal reasons. So I was going to take a gap year anyway. So I wasn't really sad because I thought, okay, since I'm taking a gap year, I'm going to apply again, and all I had to do was to work hard for my A levels so that I could get 3 A's or even more, and then apply for medicine. So results day came. I mean, I worked really hard. I took some of my modules again to try and to try and like push my grades up, and because I got in for my AS, I got B's in chemistry and biology. I wanted to push those grades up to an A, and for my maths modules, I retook some units so that I could push them up to an A star. I mean, I tried. Results day came, and I got A's in chemistry, maths, and further maths. But I got a B in biology, and it was so disheartening. I remember results day, I actually cried. I told my mom I got a B in biology. Biology was my favorite. Like, if it was chemistry or maths, I don't think it would have affected me that much, but because biology was actually my favorite, I got a B in it, so it really broke my heart. And then I knew again, it really broke my heart again, because I knew that a lot of unis wanted A's in biology and chemistry, so that meant that I couldn't apply to a lot of universities. So my choices literally just were narrowed down to about 4 or 5 universities. So when I came back that day, results day, I started looking at going down the list and looking at universities that did not mind me having a B in biology, and that's how I found out about St. George's University in London. So I think out of all the universities in the UK, there was only 5 I could apply to. So out of those 5, I picked 4. So I applied to St. George's for medicine, Sheffield, Aberdeen, and Dundee. Those were the only 4 unis I could apply to. And I didn't even want to go to Scotland in the first place. Like, Aberdeen and Dundee, like, why would I ever apply? Like, why would I want to, you know, be that far away, 7 hours away from here? But I only applied because I had no choice. And then I also applied to Southampton University for biomedical science. So I got an offer for the biomedical science, and then in November of that year, I got an email saying that from St. George's, saying that it rejected me because I did not meet the academic requirements. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, wagwan? I checked your website, and it said that, you know, this is what you needed, and I met the grades. What are you talking about? And so they reviewed it, and they said, oh, actually, yeah, you didn't meet the academic requirements. And then they gave me an interview. And I remember that day when I got the email for the interview, I actually cried. Like, I went down on my knees. I was like, oh my God, I got an interview. I cried, and I was like, tears. I'm a very emotional person, by the way. And yeah, so I was like, oh my gosh, God gave me a second chance, you know, that he's trying to tell me something, you know, I'm gonna get this place and do medicine, be a doctor, So I went for the interview. It was in December, I think, and I remember it so well. I still got my sticker from the interview. It's in my journal. I went there, I met this, you know, amazing people, and it was MMI, my very first experience with MMI. I'd never done an MMI interview before, all of that kind of stuff. And I could tell like I made mistakes in a lot of places. Some stations went well, for example the stations where I was talking about my work experience and stuff like that, but other stations I just messed up. In the acting station, I mean, I cannot act to save my life, and I was such a shy person. Like I was so immature, and I could not. Yeah, I was so nervous. My nerves got the better of me, and yeah, it just went. It didn't go really well. But the next day, I got an email from them. They said I didn't do too bad to get a straight rejection, but I didn't do well enough to get an offer. So they placed me on the waiting list. And then I was like, oh, but this is not the end of it, like I could actually get an offer, and everything. I was so excited. I started the chat on the student room for the medicine in applicants page. I was super pumped, and then they started giving out offers on people on the waiting list, and I was waiting for my offer. Every single day passed and I did not have an offer. I was waiting and waiting and waiting, and I waited for 4 months, since December until May. I was waiting to get an offer, and I did not get an offer. And I remember one fateful day coming back from work. At the time I was working in a care home as a general assistant, because I couldn't work as an actual care assistant because I wasn't 18 yet. And I remember getting an email from St. George's. This was the day before the UCAS deadline, and they said, oh, we're so sorry, we could not give you an offer. And I cried. I literally cried. I was walking home. I cried all the way as I was walking home, and when I got home, I put my bag down and I lay on the floor and I cried. I literally cried like someone had died. That's how heartbreaking and crushing it was. And at the end of the day, I was like, what do I do? What do I do now? And then, after speaking to my friends and speaking to my mom and everything like that, I decided I want to apply again. And I was like, this was the reasoning. It was like, I have experience, with MMI. If I do it again, if I get another opportunity to do it, I know what I did wrong. I know I can correct it. I can fix it. So my parents, African parents, they take education really seriously. They're not those kind of people that would just like let you stay at home because you don't want to go to uni. My parents are not like that. They're very, very like education focused. They want everyone to go to uni and stuff like that. So it was really hard for me to convince my parents to let me stay at home again. And I told them, I was like, Mom, this is what I really want to do, and understand what I'm trying to say here. If I get an interview again, I really do feel like I would be able to do well. And so they were like, okay, fine. They're very supportive, my parents. They have never ever forced me to do anything. They never forced me into medicine. They never forced me to apply. They were always like, do what you want to do and let God lead you. So they've always been so supportive. And they supported this decision of mine to stay at home again for the second time. So I took 2 gap years in general. During that gap year, I got a job in the hospital as a healthcare assistant. Brilliant experience. I got to work with nurses and doctors and physiotherapists, occupational therapists, just get to know like really the role of different healthcare professionals within the NHS, and it got me like so much experience, and I was so pumped. And I realized truly it was only until then that I realized I want to work with patients, that I want to work in the hospital environment. I didn't know if it was going to be as a doctor, but I wanted to work in the hospital. So I applied to second time around. No, this was the third time I was applying. I applied during my second gap year to the same unis as the last time, so St. George's, Sheffield, Aberdeen and Dundee. And I think I mentioned that during my second application I got rejections from the other 3, so I only got an interview from St. George's. So this third time round I was only applying just for the sake of applying, because I kind of knew that Aberdeen, Dundee and Sheffield were going to reject me. So my hopes were in St. George's. Like that was the only thing I was hoping for, because that's where I really wanted to go anyway. And I also applied for biomedical science at St. George's, because St. George's does the transfer to medicine scheme, which I'm going to expand on later. Spoiler alert. And I also applied to Bradford for clinical science or whatever, because I think they also do the transfer to medicine after the first year or something like that. So I did that, but unfortunately when I did my UK CAT, it was not as high as the last time I did it. Like, it wasn't good. It was good. It was a lot better than the first time I did it, but it wasn't as good as the previous year. So I did not meet the cutoff for St. George's, and unfortunately I did not get an interview. And obviously, you know, that broke my heart, because I was like, the only reason why I applied again was because I thought if I get to the interview stage, I will be able to prove myself. But not even getting the chance to get to the interview stage was so heartbreaking. And you know, I was like, okay, that's fine, I'm not going to stay at home again for a third year, just take 3 gap years just because I want to apply to medicine. So I told my parents, like, it's fine, I'm going to go to uni. So I think Bradford offered me a place to do forensic science. Wagwan, like, not that there's anything wrong with forensic science, but like, I applied to do clinical science and they want me to do forensic science, and I was like, what are you doing? That's not what I applied for. But anyway, so I declined that offer, and then St. George's offered me finally. They took a while, their sweet time, like they always do, but they finally gave me an offer to study biomedical science, and I was, you know, I was so pumped to come and do biomed, because I thought, you know, if I do biomed, I can work towards the transfer, get the grades that they need, because they want you to get a certain grade before you would get an interview, and then if you get interviewed, you can get the offer that you would transfer into the second year of the postgraduate program. So I was like, yeah, that's another way to get in. I'm gonna come work hard and hopefully get into medicine, get the transfer. So I came first year, met amazing people, my friends in my flat. I made up my closest friends from the Christian Union. Amazing. I found a really good church and made amazing people at the church. Met amazing people at the church who looked after me over my past 3 years at university. It was amazing experience, brilliant. First and second year came. I did well, by God's grace, and I got an interview. So I remember July last year, 2017, I got an interview. I remember getting an interview. I was so nervous, I was so worried. I was like, oh my gosh, it has come again. This is me facing the MMI for the second time. God, please help me. And I remember at the time I was in London because I was doing a summer vacation studentship. I was working in the lab. I was doing research in the lab, which I really miss. But yeah, I was doing research in the lab. I was working there, and so I was in London, and I got some time to like I didn't really get that much time to prepare for the interview, I'm not gonna lie, because with work and everything like that, it wasn't really didn't leave me enough time to actually do proper interview prep and practice. I did a little bit of practice with my friends and stuff, but I didn't really do as much prep and practice and stuff. So when the interview came, my very first station went wrong. Like, one of the it wasn't good. Like, some of the stations were good, like I said, just like the previous time, the very first time I had an interview, but some stations actually just left me crying, and I was like, it did not go well at all. And this time around, I needed it to go really well because it was so competitive. They interviewed over 70 of us, and they're only going to give places to like 20 people. So I needed it to go where I wanted to stand out, but unfortunately it didn't go as well as I hoped. But I went back home and I cried, and I was like, God, please help me get this place. You know, like, it could have gone well. I know that it could have gone well, you know, but please just favor me. And I remember writing it in my journal. I was like, God, please favor me. Like, you know how bad I want this. Please help me get this place. And on the 1st of August 2017, I remember the day started really well. I went to the lab, I got an email, I sat in the office, opened that email. It said that I did not get in, I did not get the offer. And obviously, you know, that broke my heart. I remember going into the lab, I was pipetting, doing my experiments in the lab, and I was crying, and I was trying so hard to hold back those tears. I was like, Joan, do not cry here, don't cry, please. And I remember leaving my pipetting, my experiments, I went into the toilet and I just bawled and I just cried. And when I got out, like, my eyes were like so red. Everything just went wrong that day. My experiments, you know, I ended up staying in the lab until like 8 p.m. I left really late, went to Bible study, and then after Bible study, like, I just started crying. I could not even stop crying. Literally, I was like, it wasn't good. It wasn't good at all. But anyway, I was crying because I found myself again at the crossroads, and then I was asking, what do I actually do with my life right now? Like, God, why do you just enjoy putting me in this position? Why am I here again? Why am I finding myself here again? I thought that you would favor me. I thought that, I would actually be able to do this. But why? Why are you doing this to me? And so I told my mom. I told my mom before. I was like, if I did not get into medicine this time around, if I did not get the transfer, I was not going to apply again. But then one of my friends actually encouraged me. She was like, Joan, no, please try one more time, because you're going into your third year. This is another chance for you to apply again. She was like, I'm going to give you my GAMSAT preparation materials, please apply again, because she did the GAMSAT the year before me. She got into medicine, and I was like, okay. She gave me all her GAMSAT prep and everything like that. I paid £300 to register for the GAMSAT. If you don't know what the GAMSAT is, it is a stressful exam. Literally, like, there's 3 sections: the science section, there's a essay writing section, and then there is a poetry section kind of thing. And the science section was literally, that exam took literally the whole day, and when I got out of it, I had a headache. And the thing is, I only had 3 weeks to prepare for this exam. This is an exam that people take a year, 6 months, 3 months to prepare for. I had 3 weeks. 3 weeks, because that's the only time I had to properly get in the zone and actually do it. And I remember preparing for it, all the practice tests I was doing, I was getting I was failing ridiculously. And I remember there's this page in my faith journal, I wrote SOS, and I was like, God, please help me. I cannot do this on my own. I need your help. And I went into it, I was like, God, just take control, because I can't do anything. I can't do anything. So that's what happened. I waited, started my third year, started my research project and everything. GAMSAT results came out and I flopped, and I did not meet the cutoff for one of the sections for St. George's, so obviously I got rejected. And then I also applied. So I applied to St. George's, I applied to Warwick, I applied to Nottingham. Was it Nottingham? Nottingham and Liverpool, I think. Warwick, I had to do the UK CAT, and I have shared a story before of what happened the day I did my UK CAT, or my whole story about the UK CAT. And I shared this story in the video that I did back in September called Life is Hard but God is Good. It was another really stressful time, and I'm going to leave the link to the video down below if you want to know what happened. But anyway, I did the UK CAT, and yeah, obviously I did okay, but it wasn't a good score. It wasn't competitive enough, and yeah, I got rejections from the others. They just said that it wasn't, my UK CAT score wasn't competitive enough. And so I got my last rejection from Liverpool, and they said that my score wasn't competitive enough. So yeah, which was fine. And then again, I was back at the crossroads, and I was like, what do I do? But then through it all, I got a sense of relief. That's the thing that I did not understand. This was something that I'd been working since 2013. I'd been hoping that I would get into medicine. And then I got to a point where I didn't actually get in. But I was actually relieved. And I was like, why am I relieved? God, what are you trying to tell me? What do I do? I don't know what you want me to do. Why am I having this sense of relief? Why am I having this sense of peace within me? Do you not want me to do medicine anymore? What's happening? I didn't actually understand. And I remember going to an event a few months ago, and one of the guys, who was he was talking about when people who care about you try to influence a decision, when you find yourself at crossroads and you find yourself in a place where you're trying to make a decision regarding something, and then you know how everyone in your life is trying to give input and say, okay, no, you do this, oh no, you do, your friends that care about you, your family members, your loved ones, everyone is trying to tell you, not because they mean bad for you, but because they care about you and they're just trying to help. But then at the same time, you have so many voices coming in. But at the end of the day, you have to sit, within yourself. You need to sit and ask God, what is it that you want me to do? What is it that you want me to do? You've brought me this far. I'm at the crossroads again. Do I stay here? Do I keep going straight? Do I go right? Do I go left? Or do I turn around and go back? Like, what the hell do you want me to do? And that was where I was at that moment. And I remember this guy at this event, he was saying that the one thing that he uses to discern, the will of God and discern the voice of God is when he has peace. And he referred to 2 Corinthians 3:15. He said, which says, let the peace of God rule your heart. Let the peace of God rule your heart. And then he said, apply that in whatever decision that you're making. If you do not have peace, if the peace of God is not ruling your heart regarding the kind of decision that you're making, then perhaps God is not in it. Perhaps that's not what God wants you to do. And then, I just had to step back and look at things, reevaluate. And I was like, Joan, this door you've been knocking on, this door you're trying to open, is this really the door that God wants you to go through? Because I know he has the power to help me get into medicine. Definitely. I know that those interviews could have gone really well. There's kind of sad, unfortunate things that happened at some of my stations during the transfer interview that it could have been anyone else, but it was me. Why was it me? And that's something that I struggle to understand, because it could have gone a lot better. I'm not always nervous. I've had interviews in the past, but my nerves haven't always taken the better of me. I've done well in interviews before, but why is it only at that moment that my nerves decided to take over, and things just had to happen that way? A lot of things were happening that were just out of my control, and it was nerve-wracking because it just made me realize that truly, Joan, you are not in control. And so I had to step back and go back to God and totally lay down all my cares and burdens on him. And I was like, God, show me what you want me to do. And then when I started asking, I changed my prayer from God, help me get into medicine, to God, show me what you want me to do. That's how I turned everything around. And I learned to be totally dependent on him. My one word for the year 2018 is surrender. That's the one word that God revealed to me at the start of this year. Surrender. And I have learned to surrender my will. To surrender my will. And in exchange for his. As in give him my will and take his own will, because I know that his will is so much more greater. I have learned to surrender my plans for his much greater plans, because he knows where I'm going. I do not know. My view is so restricted. I do not know why all of this is happening, and how this is working for my good. But in my head, I had to learn to trust him. I had to learn to say, okay, I might have tried 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times and I did not get in, but I know that there's a reason for it. I know that there is a reason why this has happened to me and not someone else. There's a reason why people try once and they get in, or once or twice or 3 times and they get in, And because I've tried 5 times and I haven't gotten in, doesn't necessarily mean that I'm a failure, because trust me, there were times when I felt like a failure. I felt like I wasn't good enough, and it really affected my confidence. The thing is, I am the eldest child in my family. I've got 2 younger brothers who look up to me, and I always have this pressure to do well and to look after my brothers and to be a good role model and to be an example. And I always thought that I'd failed myself and my brothers when I could not achieve what I set to achieve. And it was so heartbreaking, again, because I thought that God had abandoned me. I thought that he didn't love me. And I thought that he was just playing games, that he was playing cheeky games. And I was like, God, at one point I was like, God, this is not funny. You're playing with my feelings. This is not funny. Why do you keep doing this? I don't like this. But then, friends, where I am today, literally where I am at the moment, God has taught me so many things, and he told me, Joan, he had to bring me to a place, excuse me, I'm getting the cramps. He had to bring me to a place where he was like, Joan, you need to surrender, and you need to let me show you what I have planned. You have tried, and well done. But now I need to bring your heart to a place where you need to totally trust me and rely on me, because I know what I have planned for you. And I know you guys would be wondering, okay, so I got peace, not getting into medicine. What is it that, I'm getting into? And I will basically tell you guys in another video, the part 2 of this video, because this video is going on like 30 minutes now, and I do not want to bore you guys for so long. But yeah, I just wanted to come on here and encourage you guys. I will tell you guys what I'm doing next in the next video, so look out for that. But the reason why I'm, giving this, making this video is because you're having a bad day, because you tried once and it didn't work out, doesn't mean that you are a failure, doesn't mean that things wouldn't always work out. People have different journeys. Okay, one thing I have learned is not to compare my journey with someone else's. People have to try once or twice and they get it, that's fine. But the fact that you keep trying and not getting it doesn't mean that, God is not favoring you in some other way. He works in different ways. He shapes our hearts in different ways. He uses different experiences to shape our hearts, but he is still working. You need to learn to surrender. The fact that things aren't going according to your plan doesn't mean that it's not going to plan, because remember, God's plans are so much more greater and so much more better. You need to learn to trust him. You need to learn to surrender your heart to him. But if God has given you peace, please, if God has given you peace in pursuing medicine, keep going, keep working hard. The fact that I am not applying for medicine again doesn't mean that you have to stop because you've watched this video. Let the peace of God rule your heart, not what everyone else around you is saying. Listen to what God is trying to tell you, because trust me, he knows best. He's the only one who can lead you to your expected end. Make sure that you're listening out for what he wants you to do, and that you are trusting him in the process. It's not going to be easy. He didn't say that it was going to be easy. Yes, there will be blood, sweat and tears. There will be mountains and valleys. There will be, you will go through unpleasant situations, because I'm not going to sit here and say that the road is easy. It's not easy, but it's going to be worth it as long as you listen to his voice, and as long as you surrender your will to him and say, Lord, let your will be done. Until you get to that point where you can completely and totally surrender and say, God, let your will be done, then you will see. He will open your eyes to where he's leading you. So I hope that this video encourages you. Please, please, please do not give up on God. Do not give up on God. He is so amazing, and I can't wait to share with you guys what I'm doing next, but I will do that in the next video. Before this video goes on to an hour, I will stop here. Thank you so much for watching. Have a lovely day and God bless. Bye.